Peace and welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for checking in and riding with us this afternoon. Folks, man, oh man, we got so much to talk about. First and foremost, let me bring you up to speed on what's happening here in the city of Los Angeles as the LA City Council President, Nuri Martinez, has decided to resign over some leaked audio that where she sounded off about a black child, calling the child an accessory and a monkey. We'll give you the latest in this big political controversy, especially during 4 weeks before the midterm elections. We'll have that conversation. Also, let's talk about the latest with Kanye West. We all know what the White Lives Matter shirt was, how that played out. Well, he did an interview with Tucker Carlson of Fox News and shared more. And in the explosive interview, he talked about everything from Lizzo to Kim Kardashian, his ex-wife, to what did he think needs to be moving forward for this country? Man, oh man, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, he's also been kicked off of Twitter and Instagram for his latest tweet about Jews. We'll have that conversation. Plus, it is National Indigenous Peoples Day. What does that mean? How do we celebrate it? We'll have that discussion. And then later, we check in with my guy, Scotty, who is a sports blogger and analyst, to talk about the NFL's new updated concussion policy after the injury of Tua Tagovailoa of Miami Dolphins. Folks, make sure y'all stay tuned. A whole lot is coming at you on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome, and happy Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you. Hopefully you had a great and relaxing weekend, a purposeful weekend, a weekend where you can do what you needed to do, take care of the family, enjoy yourself, and just overall, just enjoy life. So hopefully you got some rest this weekend. Folks, let me tell you, if you woke up this morning, you can hear there's a whole lot of stuff that's been happening all across the country. And today we got some conversations, just a little slice of some of this cultural, political, and other social conversations that are happening. Now, before we jump into those conversations, we want you to jump into our chat. Make sure you log in. Check us out on blackstarnetwork.com. Also, check us out on our YouTube and a Facebook chat as we are streaming live on those platforms. Be a part of the conversation. Big shout out to my online culture crew, always holding it down, always sharing their thoughts. And of course, we'll be bringing your posts and bringing them to the forefront as we have these conversations. All right, the first one, let's talk about this. LA City Council President Nuri Martinez has decided to resign over some leaked audio where she said some racist comments about one of her colleagues' child. Yes, take a look at this, folks. This is City Council President, former City Council President Nuri Martinez, who is the leader of the City Council of Los Angeles. She decided to step down because of her remarks, calling Mike Bonin, who is a council person in West Hollywood, calling his black child, Mike Bonin is a white male, but calling his black child an accessory and a monkey. Now, this audio has been heard all across the country. More importantly, this situation has been heard, and it's opened the conversation about everything from racism to backdoor deals to the relationship between black and brown communities. And guess what, folks? She's a Democrat. Here's what she said in her statement as she decided to step down just a few hours, just about 24 to 36 hours after the leaked audio came out. Take a look at this, folks. Here's the statement. She says that I take responsibility for what I said, and there are no excuses for those comments. She said this in a statement Monday morning. She said, "I'm so sorry. I sincerely apologize to the people I hurt with my words, to my colleagues, their families, especially to Mike Bonin, Bonin's partner, Sean Arian, and your son, As a mother, I know better, and I am sorry. I am truly ashamed. I know this is the result of my own actions. I'm sorry to your entire family for putting you through this. As someone who believes deeply in the empowerment of communities of color, I recognize my comments undercut that goal. Going forward, reconciliation will be my priority. I have already reached out to many of my Black colleagues and other Black leaders to express my regret. In order for us to heal, I ask for forgiveness from my colleagues and from the residents of this city that I love so much. In the end, it is not my apologies that matters most. Mm. She also said this, folks. It will be the actions I take from this day forward. I hope that you will give me the opportunity to make amends. Therefore, effective immediately, I am resigning as president of the Los Angeles City Council. Now, this comes out, like I mentioned, just hours, just a day and a half or so, about a day or so after some leaked audio showed her, heard of her talking to other council members of the LA City Council, where they're discussing policies that could disenfranchise Black voters, Black Black Angelinos, and they're having conversations now. Other voices heard on the video, on the audio, include Don Herrera, Councilman Kevin De Leon, and a labor official. But they're explicit. They did not use explicit language. However, they were part of the conversation. They did not stop City Council President Nuri Martinez from mentioning. They did not, object to her using that type of language. And so this is a real stain, considering Los Angeles is one of the most multicultural cities in the world, especially here in the United States. This is something that, is really, really hurtful, deeply offensive, and quite disturbing. So I wanted to bring in my guy, Shinedu Igwakwofo, who serves as he's a culture crew member, but he's also a specialist in the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Shinedu, thank you so much, brother, for tuning in and being a part of the conversation today. How are you?
Man, I'm great. It's a pleasure to be had, and I'm really excited about this conversation, because this is
yeah, man. Like I told you, brother, there was no other person that I can imagine having this discussion with other than yourself. But let's look at this, because there are a lot of layers to this whole thing. This is a woman, a Latino woman, right? Mm-hmm. So that already adds a certain dynamic to this discussion, right? She's been in power here in the city of Los Angeles for many, many years. LA is an ever-changing city. In terms of Black population, we make up about 8 to 9% of the city's population, whereas the Latino population, this is a very predominant, very heavy Latino city. And of course, we have white people that make up a portion of the population, but we're still seeing, this level of racism from a city council person, from a government official, it's disturbing. It's disturbing. And it's 2022. And then, let me just throw it out there again. She's a Democrat. She's a Democrat, Shinedu. So what do you make of this, bro?
Well, all that glitters is not gold. And I've always said this before, Democrat, Republican, white people are going to be white people, or non-Black people are going to be non-Black people. It doesn't matter what group. No group is better than the other in theory. They just have different ways of presenting who they are. I think this is a big slap on the face of the Democratic Party for two reasons. One, because it's such an egregious and heinous statement. But two, you allowed this person to infiltrate your party and be in your party and be, everybody's going to do damage control now, but she managed to be in the party for however many years she was in the party and be a representative. And no one figured this out, or better yet, did they know and ignore it and say, as long as she's not adamantly, public or in the forefront with, this, it could be ignored or swept under the rug. Those are the questions that I have, because I'm hard pressed to say that she had an epiphany and just had a racial moment. This had to have happened before. Someone had to seen this, have had seen this before or heard this before and looked the other way. And that's what I'm deeply questioning, especially during this time when we're 5-6 weeks away from the midterms.
We're about 4 weeks out, bro.
4 weeks. My goodness. Despicable. And I have another not funny, but it's just a ha-ha that came to my head the first time I read the story. It just reminds me of when you come to America, even if you're immigrant, you're taught that the worst thing to be is Black. Irregardless if the treatment of the people where you come from may resemble the experiences that Black people experience, you're told, and it's very much understood, that you don't want to be Black. And that is what I felt in that moment and with that statement. As someone who is comes from a Hispanic family, Ms. Martinez, just the fact that she would make that statement.
I mean, it's you know, you would think somebody would just think a little bit. And I know people, I felt the same way. So to all of my culture crew members that feel like this is a fake apology, that this is just, you know, political convenience, and like, I felt the same way. You know, I mean, I know she says in her statement, oh, well, you know, I'm going to be working with my, you know, to reconcile and to let people heal. And I've reached out to my Black colleagues to apologize. And it's like, you know, racism is one of those things. I don't know if you can, quote unquote, come back from saying racist epithet, you know, using racial slurs. I don't know if you can come back and turn. And I'm saying that as a person who is in a leadership role, you saying something like this. And then also, you know, it calls in question everything in your history, in your record. You know, I posted this on my social media, on my Instagram and Twitter, but I made the point saying that if you're saying this among friends that you feel comfortable, who you feel are comfortable who you feel comfortable in saying these things around, can you imagine just how many policies that she may have either created or blocked, right? Block policy she has stopped for the progress of Black LA, Indigenous LA. Can you imagine how many resources she may have intervened with because of her thinking? And this is why, you know, when we're talking about racism, it's not just about, a brush of the language. It doesn't take away the simple fact that you still think this way. You have a very skewed racist view of another group of people. You're in a position of power. So that means that you can also create policy based upon your view. I mean, that's just the nature of things. That's what it is. What you think is what the policy will be. That's what it comes down to, bro.
Very
so
true.
when we talking about racism from leaders and political officials, to me, it's like, no, you got to get them out. You can't accept an apology because they poisoned the water. Mm-hmm. So how do we, and there are a number of questions now, because, you know, I mentioned now you have this racism, you got backdoor deals, because the whole audio was them having a conversation about, you know, bringing another council person into their fold. So that way, the person that they were talking about, Heather Hutt, to bring in another council person into their fold, because that person will fit the agenda. This is Latinos. Mm-hmm. This is not white people. This is Latinos. Mm-hmm. And you know, I will say it. I've said this on my local radio show in Baltimore. I'm gonna say it now. I've always been an advocate of bridging the gap between brown and Latinos, because brown and Black, because we got so much in common in terms of the struggle, the oppression of being in white supremacy, and all of those things. But this is a huge blow to kind of building that relationship, Sinead, and that's the part about it. They're Latinos. You are planning and conspiring and colluding against Black people under the banner of Democrats. Mm-hmm.
You
Bro,
know,
I don't get it. I don't know what to do with that, to be honest with you, bro. I'm looking for you to school me because I don't know what to do with that.
I think there's a saying where I come from where it says that the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know.
Hmm.
One thing I appreciated about Trump, I never had to guess how he felt. I knew it. I think one thing that's very dangerous is she is now going to open the floodgates of people to wonder. She can't come as one person. There must be 2, 3, or more. Who else is hiding under the guise of quote unquote progressiveness or whatever and feel the exact same way?
Right.
Who is hiding under this cloak of secrecy? Because when you said that, and she's a Democrat, or I told myself, yeah, for hatred to progress the way it progresses in this country, especially around Black people, I mean, 2 groups have to agree with it. That's just my opinion. Just have to. And you got people doppelganging on each side as the same type of people, just in different parties, doing different things. And it's just, there's so much I want to know. You know, why was it leaked? Because I don't think this is her first time saying it. Because it's 4 weeks before that it was leaked. That's how I feel. I don't think that this is new. I just think that it only matters is because this election, like every election, is the most important election, blah, blah, blah. We know the rhetoric, we know the tagline. But I'm just interested now. She's the big fish. Who are the little fishes that were around that didn't mind hearing her say that or have heard her say it before? And more or less, what are we going to do? Because, I mean, she's been in the business. You're resigning and you make that comment. Like, I'm so sorry. Apologies mean nothing to me. There's only one type of apology, and that's called changed behavior. So the statement is just PR at best. But she's going to be fine. That's the sad part. And it's crazy that in a time that we lived in the last 4 or 5 years where we heard a pariah make a statement saying that, you know, criminals, rapists, all that, pedophiles, rapists, all that stuff, just to hear somebody of that same community make the similar generalization about Black people.
Right.
You know, this epithet like that it's uncalled for. And I think it calls for bigger scrutiny. Trump is a bigot. You can easily label him that. But this person is working under the guise of us, for those who are Democrats. That is very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. And let me add to this, right? The other part of it, and I heard this being spoken of this morning, the Black council people in Los Angeles did not come out in full force. It wasn't even Black folks that pulled her up on this to call for her to resign. It wasn't Black folk. Now, in Los Angeles, by this being the city that it's in, it's a huge, huge part of course, California, of course, in terms of Democratic stronghold. We got an upcoming mayor's race with Karen Bass and Mr. Rick Caruso, who is just a new Democrat. He just changed over after becoming a Republican. He was a Republican for many years, a billionaire, a developer. He served on a few major boards. And then you got Karen Bass, Congresswoman Karen Bass, who's been in Congress. So that mayor's race is a hotly contested race. Again, this is in the backdrop of the situation, where now you got to deal with the city. Has got to, we all got to figure out, okay, which direction we're going to take the city locally in terms of local government, and then of course the implications on the national conversation about a host of things. California continues to lead the way in a lot of different progressive spaces. So, I'm wondering why we haven't seen or heard from the Black LA city council people about this situation. I mean, in full force. I'm not talking about just like as we condemn type of statement. I'm talking about get her out. We're not having this. You know what I mean? I'm talking about getting angry, getting upset. because you have a cancer in city government, and a cancer in city government, bro. You got to cut that thing off at the neck. You know what I mean? You got to get right to the source of the problem because it's going to spread. It's going to spread. And so when we're talking about building these relationships, and they do, as we have this part of the conversation, when we talk about building these relationships, where do we go from here?
That's a really good question, because this is hard to swallow, simply because it's another day in America for me, and I'm sure for you as a Black person. Yeah. We know this. This is not new. We're going to talk about leaks like this to the day we die. I think it's very imperative of what you just said for the group of Black people in the California area, as well as LA, as well as outside, to say something, because it's important to be a spokesperson for your group so other people don't have to speak for you. I'm sure a message is coming soon, a very well-crafted PR message. I really don't know where we go from here. I think it's just to be honest, rather than speculate, because that's what I don't want to do, I'm waiting for more details, because now that we've heard this, the internet doesn't fail. Somebody is working, a photo, a message, or something will pop up of her pattern. And I think once we get more details, then that can help us make the frame of questioning of why didn't anybody do anything beforehand? Because if this existed, you all knew. But I think before anybody goes on left side and then has to go right later, or right side has to go left later, it's best in moments like this to just watch and be cautious. Of course, media wants to report and have the hottest facts, but sometimes it's good to just sit and wait, because the internet, which doesn't need journalists to do this, will do what it does. Somebody will go on Twitter and Instagram, and somebody's doing the research right now and looking for anything. Once we get that, and then get the list of who's on that council, the council, the other council members, and so on and so forth, then we can have dialogue with actual factual questions rather than just emotions on how we felt about how she feels about Black people and how she views. Because why, even if this is a white man, this is my question. If this is a white man, it's a white man's child that she was talking about, correct?
Right. It was a white man's child. It's a Black child.
It's a Black child. It's biracial.
But the child has two white fathers.
There's so much going. There is so much going on here, and
she also insulted Indigenous people as well. So as we talk about celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day today, this is kind of like ironic that as we talking about celebrating diversity and certain level of equity and inclusion, and then you got like this coming from a woman who is a part of a people who have been marginalized, a part of a people who have suffered as a result of white supremacy and political disenfranchisement. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And this is not about, and this goes to show us, and I think to your point, Sinead, this is certainly not about the color of one's skin.
Mm-hmm.
The real cancer is the thinking. That's the part of this, right? Like, you can't tell by looking at a person if they're racist, prejudiced, biased. You don't know until they open up their mouth, until you see them doing something. So we're really in a day and a time where you can't judge a book by its cover, right? And you really do have to allow people to tell you who exactly they are. When you are professing racial slurs, you are telling me exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, the sad part about it is a stain on your people. You know what I'm saying? It's a stain on where you came from. It's a stain on who you say you represent. That's the sad part about it. You know what I'm saying? So just like everybody else look at you and me as Black men, and they all assume we love playing basketball or sports. We all listen to hip hop music. We all have underlying, undercover killers at night. You know what I'm saying? Look at it. You can't assume that now. So I think that's the other part about this. And to, I want to take a couple of comments from our online culture crew. And you made this point. You're in a seat of power. How did you get there? Because no one gets to power by themselves. So how did you get there? And you mean to tell me that those who got you there didn't know, or they didn't care? Because you were pushing an agenda for them. So, that's why I say it's a lot of dynamics on this thing. It's a lot of dynamics. Let me just take a couple of comments real quick, and as we wrap up this part of the conversation. Janelle, good to hear from you, sis. You're starting us off this afternoon. You say we have a whole lot of racist Democrats. There's why we couldn't break the filibuster. I mean, if you say that's who you are, man. And we can't act like that. And instead of us getting defensive, and I'm saying either on black folks or white people, when somebody calls us out about who we are based upon what we say and what we do, don't get defensive. Don't be like, oh my God, that's not me. That's not what I meant to say. We are all thinking human beings. So just like Ms. Martinez, I should have known better. You're damn right you should have known better. But you shouldn't have known how to think that way either if you were serious about public service. You mean to tell me in one of the most multicultural cities in America, you think that way like that? And I'm not saying that she's the only one. Obviously, she's not. But you think that is cool. No, your ass just got caught.
That's it.
Your ass just got caught. Now you, oh man, I'm sorry. And don't call me. Don't call me a friend. What you calling black folks for? You did it. I just wanted to let you know. That's not how I really feel. I just said that for the recorder. Jawan checked it. You said she can keep her fake apology. Facts. She's only sorry she got caught. Like always. Facts. Yep. Janae, you said why we keep talking about kids. What did they do? I mean, that's what people do. I forgot who said it, but it was like, certain things should be off limits in public conversation, public discourse. The families of representatives, the families of political leaders should be off limits. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you think about it, we're looking at it at this stance. This is the world of social media. This kid is going to school. His friends will know about what was said about him. Are we thinking about the mental state and the safety of that child? Right.
And look, his father, Mike Bonin, who is and let me just share with you this tweet very quickly. Mike Bonin posted this tweet. Let's share that, King and Ariel. All right, so take a look, folks. His father put out a statement. Mike Bonin, again, as I mentioned earlier, councilman out of West Hollywood. He said that we are appalled, angry, and absolutely disgusted that Nuri Martinez attacked our son with horrific racial slurs and talked about her desire to physically harm him. It's vile, abhorrent, and utterly disgraceful. The city council needs to remove her as council president immediately, and she needs to resign, which she did. We love our son, a beautiful, joyful child, and our family is hurting today. No child should ever be subjected to such racist, mean, and dehumanizing comments, especially from a public official. It is painful to know he will someday read these comments. We are equally angry and disgusted by the ugly racist comments about our son from Kevin De Leon and Ron Herrera, who should also resign their posts, and by the tacit acceptance of those remarks by Gil Cedillo. It hurts that one of our son's earliest encounters with overt racism comes from some of the most powerful public officials in Los Angeles. As parents of a Black child, we condemn the entirety of the recorded conversation, which displayed a repeated and vulgar anti-Black sentiment and a coordinated effort to weaken Black political representation in Los Angeles. The conversation revealed several layers of contempt for the people of Los Angeles and a cynical, ugly desire to divide the city rather than serve it. That's from Mike Bonin and his partner, Sean Arian. And there it is. There it is. Yeah. So you got You got racism. You got two parents who are part of the LGBTQIA community that's been affected, right? So black boy, the LGBTQIA community has been affected. You got citizens that have been affected, right? Because for those of us who live in the city, it's another blow to our understanding of leadership and confidence and faith. I mean, you got a lot of people that's been affected from this situation. Nah, dog, she had to go. She had to go. And the other ones should go too. Kevin DeLeon, Ron Herrera, all of them, they should go. Because you sat there and you joked with her and you accepted it. That was cool. Y'all created a safe space to be racist. Gotta go. Your ass got to go.
And very important, because we hear this every time a black person does something wrong. I think it is very important that the Latinx community speaks up.
Come on, bro.
Condemns their own.
Come on, right? Bro.
Because unless you all agree with this, you need to condemn her at the highest extent of vocabulary that you can find in either language, so that we know that what she says doesn't belong to y'all culture. That's what everybody thinks, even though we know that's not the case. But say it so we know it's real.
That's it. That's it. I would love to see that. Sinead, I would love to see some of the Latino organizations or any type of powerful Latino groups or individuals speak up about this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When I'm moving around the city and I see Latino brothers and sisters, there's no hate. We talk, we build, we laugh. I mean, seriously, I'm talking to a lot of different people. And so yeah. But here's the thing. We got 8 to 9% of black folks in this city. That's small. That is small. And so it's going to be, and I really, really hope and pray that this situation adds fuel to the fire for black Angelenos, where we're coming out in droves in this election. You know what I'm saying? Just to put the statement out there that this certain type of behavior is unacceptable, certain type of statements, and more importantly, certain types of thinking has no place in the forward progress of Black Los Angeles, Indigenous Los Angeles. It has no place for it. Mm-hmm. It has no place for it. And I'm at the point, Sinead, I know that as we wrap up this part, because I want to make sure we touch on my man Kanye, right? But I'm at this place, bro. You know, we taking Issa Rae's, you know, when she said her famous statement, I'm rooting for everybody black. And I think that is true. But I think some people have taken it out of context. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not rooting for your ass if you're wrong, though.
Nope.
I don't care if you're black. If your ass is wrong, if you are abusive, if you are violating our people, I don't give a damn about your skin color. You wrong. That's what it comes down to. I'm rooting for everybody that's black and right. But if you're black and wrong, you taking money from, you're taking the money from the public coffers. Mm. If you're lying to the people in your service, if you are using your power to abuse women, children, men, boys, I'm not rooting for you. Well, I'm not rooting for that, bro. I'm rooting for everybody that's right. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you white and you right. You're right. It is what it is, bro. I mean, let's not take this blackness thing to the point where we just completely get so emotionally wrapped up in color that we move away from principle. The principles what stand. Mm-hmm. Nuri Martinez, wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wrong.
And I'm gonna just say one more time,
bro. Finish it off.
One more time. It is imperative that the Latinx community come up with immediacy to speak up, because when the African American community, everybody looks at us like we have to be the spokesperson and police person for every good or black person. Fine, but in that same spirit, it's interesting. Like, I just don't see any urgency, and I think there is opportunity, and I'm offering this. This is the opportunity for that community to say what needs to be said, or keep your hearts and your minds and your thoughts with the person who just resigned. Because what I feel from my experience is that what she said is not too far off from what many of the community may think. I'm not saying all, but we've heard Marco Rubio, we've heard Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's another conversation that has to be had. We can't have it today, but there is a group of Latinos who I would say subscribe to wanting to be seen as more white than they do, black.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had those conversations with my Latino brothers and sisters in New York. You know what I'm saying? They like, no, we consider ourselves as part of the black community or an extended family of the black community. But that's not always the view of all the Latino folks. So that's another part of the conversation. So there's so many layers to this. But I'm hoping that this will engage people. This will wake people up and say, look, you got to come out and vote in the local election, not just the national. You got to come out there in full strength in the local election, because we got to root and we got to weed these folks out. I don't care about their level, how many years of service and all of that. All of that goes out the door the moment you disrespect or the moment that you diminish someone's humanity by using these type of terms. But more importantly, the moment you diminish somebody's humanity by thinking a certain way. That's all goes out the door. Now I got to question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Got to question your motivations and intentions about every little policy and where you stand on various issues. So we will see how this thing will play out. But she has resigned, and I'm hoping that Ron Herrera, Kevin De Leon, and Gil Cedillo will follow suit. Sinead will definitely follow suit. Go ahead, bro.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. I'm interested in seeing how this is going to play out. That's all I'm waiting for. Because we're going to have a conversation for sure. I know we are.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a conversation, at least an update. Let me share with you some of the big updates relating to Kanye West as he continues to go through his cycle of, I don't know what he's going through, y'all. But he continues to put himself out there. And as a result of that, a lot of people are saying enough is enough. I'm going to bring you up to speed on that. So stay with us. That conversation is coming up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol. We've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, we wanted to switch gears from talking about politics to talking about Kanye. Yep, he gets his own category, folks. And the wildness of Kanye continues to happen. It started all from that Paris fashion show where he debuted a new element of his fashion line that really emphasized that white lives matter. Y'all know that picture, this infamous picture of him standing next to Candace Owens. And you can't see his, but you can definitely see hers, and she is happy as a black conservative can be wearing the shirt. All right. But the wildness of Kanye continues to just unfold because after that whole controversy, a number of people have came out to condemn the hip hop star, but then he went on to Fox News and had a conversation with one of Fox News superstars, Tucker Carlson, to talk about why he wore that shirt. This is what he said.
Dad is an educated ex-Black Panther, and he put a text to me today. He said, "White lives matter, ha, 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 ha." And I said, I thought the shirt was a funny shirt. I thought the idea of me wearing it was funny. And I said, "Dad, what do you think it was funny?" He said, just a black man stating the obvious. Yeah. And, you know, my dad doesn't listen to rap music, and he's like super educated. We opened up a water distribution center in the Dominican Republic together. He's like the original Steve Jobs, but he was getting blocked every which way with all of his ideas, and he didn't have an endless bank account, and he didn't have an Instagram. So all these ideas, he had to like take them back and compress them. Like, my dad is the most brilliant person that I know, and we actually have a strained relationship because I was taken from him. Because my mom was an actress, so she was a liberal. And my dad would see certain things and say, you know, we should do it this way, we should do it that way. And the people got around my mom and pulled her away, much like, you know, Kim is a Christian, but she has people who want her to go to Interview magazine and put her ass out while she's a 40-something-year-old multi-billionaire with 4 black children. And this is how fashion wants to, how they want to present her. So I know you give these questions and I give you like these 3-part answers. Is this a cool format for you?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool.
And I am following it.
All right.
So you said that your father said when he saw the shirt, White Lives Matter, it's great to see a black man stating the obvious. So by which I think you meant that's obviously true.
Yeah, that's my favorite response, because I kept on thinking, like, you know, people, they're looking for an explanation, and people say, well, as an artist, you don't have to give an explanation, but as a leader, you do.
Yes, I think that's right.
So the answer to why I wrote White Lives Matter on a shirt is because they do. It's the obvious thing.
Sinead, let's bring you back into the conversation. Sinead, you went full-blown African with it. You like, you know what? We talking Kanye. Let me remind you. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Okay.
I had to do it for the culture.
For the culture. Sinead, what did we make of this, bro? And then I'm saying this, you work in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion. You went to an HBCU. You are a student of history. You have been a part of various movements, grassroots, local to national. You are constantly in the space of trying to understand the psychology and the psychosis of Black folks. What do you make of that?
The street part of me just wants to say, Kanye, shut the fuck up. It's that simple.
All right.
But
okay.
The part of me that learned and understands something that he's trying to say, he should remember the words that Dr. Martin Luther King said. I feel that I have integrated my people into a burning house, was it? I think Kanye doesn't understand that no matter how genuine what he is saying, there's nothing genuine about Tucker Carlson, right? There's a 2-part problem here. One, Black people, we have to be very sensitive with our own because they're ours. They're ours. And what we need to understand is that when we continue to just kick everybody out of our cookout, they go to other picnics, okay? We have to be careful with how we deal with Kanye. Kanye is very annoying. And he's annoying for many reasons because, and I'm a big, huge Kanye fan. I respect his art. The issue is that, yes, White Lives Matter is the obvious, but do you forget why this statement was created? Do you forget what it was meant to do? I could care less about if it's a scam or not, because he went into all of that at some point, and I just laugh. I'm like, America's a scam. You're still here, but we're not going to go here or there. But my thing is, Kanye, you have kids that are growing and to become of age of cognition. You cannot keep making these errors. And they're not errors anymore. They are decisions. To go on rants.
Come on, brother.
To not take your medication. Because what upsets me is that there is a whole cadre of Black people fighting for mental health. People who are going through deep traumatic experiences, who do not have money to buy land in Colorado to pour out their feelings. Those people who have mental health issues are going to be taken less serious because of people like you. And it's this is not really about mental health. This is not about Donda passing. Because people say, oh yeah, you go crazy when you lost your mother.
Right.
Right. He's a 4-part documentary. He's been like this forever. We ignored it because we enjoyed the talent that he offered us.
Right.
I'm ashamed of Kanye. But that is still my brother. He is still ours. But those who are around him who love him, the same thing I said in the other segment about the Latina group, they need to shake him up. The Dave Chappelles, the people who have direct access, the Sean Diddy Combs, don't keep making these Baroque statements online.
Like Mace?
Take this man and sit him down until
I'm sorry,
you can get him better.
Bro, I feel you, because Mace, y'all know who hip hop artist Mace is, right? Turned pastor, turned his life over and all of that. But he said we shouldn't bother Kanye. Now look, I'm not into the back and forth of, gossip and slander and all of those things. That's not that. I get nothing from that. I'm just looking at exactly what you're saying and what you're presenting is destructive, right? Now, there are some things that Kanye said, and we're not going to play the whole interview. There are some things that he said in this particular interview, and I was like, okay, but that's the part of it. Because I think, Sinead, the big part of it is it's a little bit of truth with madness. And in this day and time, people can't differentiate between the two, because we're being inundated with so much truth and madness at the same time that unless you do have a certain level of consciousness, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, but you don't know what is what. That's the nature of news. That's the nature of any information that we see on social media, is a little bit of truth and a whole lot of madness. And then we're expected to all just be able to differentiate. Okay, this is the truthful part. This is the madness part, right? I'm not going to completely say, oh my gosh, Kanye is just absolutely insane, because there has been some things that he said. I would be like, okay, that's true. That's true. Now, how he's going about doing it, that's one thing. That's one thing. But I think that, I don't know what to do with a person like Kanye. I don't know what we as a people, as a community, right? I don't know what we as a country, when certain voices like Kanye or Kanye West comes up, what do you do with these voices? But I am concerned, right? My concern is that in the midst of truth being integrated with a whole bunch of madness, that people are going to be confused. And in this day and time, you don't need more confusion. You need more truth tellers, truth seekers, right? People that know their history. I don't know every element of history. So that's why we bring scholars on. That's why we bring new voices. You don't want to put yourself in a position where, and this is Kanye West. He has an opinion. His opinion is not the law. You know what I mean? This is his experience. I don't know what it's like to be married to a multimillionaire as my ex-wife, as my wife, and she's doing all these things. We don't know what's happening behind the closed doors. So I don't even know if we can accurately speak on that. Only thing that we can speak on is what's presented in the public. And everybody got their opinion. You know what I mean? That's his opinion. That's how he sees things. But I think it's just so much. Now, the latest thing, along with this interview Saturday, he was going on Diddy about his relationship with Jewish people in music, Jewish people in entertainment. And so Kanye felt like he needed to say something to disrupt this relationship that he sees Diddy and many other people are just kind of falling to. So he put out this tweet. Take a look at this, folks. This is the tweet from Kanye West. He said, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. Man, we don't have enough time to break this down. And look, man, I wish I'm going to leave certain elements of this tweet to my great scholars, Dr. Carr. Y'all can check him out on the Black Table. I'm going to leave that to him Dr. Gerald Horn. We're going to talk about that. You know, maybe Dr. Horn on Wednesday, we'll kind of deep dive into some of this stuff to talk about the relationship and the accuracy, the truth of the relationship between Jews and Blacks, talking about Jewish role in entertainment, media. We got to talk about that. That's a lot. That's a much bigger conversation. But that was the tweet that got him essentially banned from he was taken off of Instagram, and now he's taken off of Twitter. So we're seeing so many dynamics at play with this one man, this one Black man, in a very, very interesting way. And you know, I think the best course of action on this, Sinead, and you tell me, when you have a situation where there's so many dynamics, just take a moment and observe and to see how situations play out. Because the more we bring up our opinions, the more, I mean, we can't stop people from stating their opinion, but I just want everybody to feel like, you know, sometimes I'll just be like, yo, everybody just pause for a minute. Let's think this thing through. Mm-hmm. Because we getting real, I mean, this dude is touching on, I mean, I'm seeing so many different responses to this situation, Sinead. People are losing it. Mm-hmm. And but the part that concerns me the most is, where do we find the truth in the midst of all of this madness? How can we look at that? Because he's saying something. He wants something to be heard. Mm-hmm. Even in his infamous interview with Sway, he was talking about the plight of breaking into the fashion industry, right? Truth. As a Black man trying to do high-end couture style fashion, it's hard, right? But and we know that there's a generation coming up behind us who would love to be in that world. We talk about a Virgil Abloh and others who would love to be in that world. We're not represented in those spaces, right? But again, the madness around it, all of the other stuff is a distraction from the truth. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way we can kind of handle this. What's your take, bro?
I think first of all, Kanye West could learn a lot from Roland Martin. Okay? Roland Martin was on all the networks you can think of. And then he realized, you know what? Y'all gonna keep doing what y'all gonna do. I'm gonna start my own thing and do it the way I want to do it, and have people who want to bang with me roll with it the way they roll with it. And I'm gonna hold those people accountable. I ain't gonna worry about y'all. I think my issue is that Kanye didn't mind laying in bed with these people. It was when he came up with fleas that he got upset. Nothing you said, the Jewish people he was speaking about that he referenced to, or whatever, you didn't have an issue when the deals were going well. The white people, or what Kim Kardashian was doing, you didn't have an issue when she wanted to be your wife. Now you come and complain. Is there truth in what Kanye is saying? Absolutely. Even a broken clock, he tells the truth twice. The issue is, Kanye West, you have a very powerful message and you're a terrible messenger, because nobody will listen to you now. And I think what we need to do is be very careful. We can be very upset with how he makes us feel, but also say, I want to take a second look into what he's saying. Because remember, from somebody who is not Kanye West, we've heard that before. One of his good friends, Jay-Z, Sean Carter, didn't say exactly that, because Jay-Z is smart. Not saying Kanye isn't. Kanye is just rash. And that could be beneficial.
Right.
Also be non-beneficial. Like, Kanye has to understand that who you are, who he was worked when he was selling Yeezys, but it might not work now in this space of what he's trying to deliver, because it's a cacophony of so many different things that it's like, bro, like, this is probably why the medications is needed, so you can focus on what you're trying to get across.
Right.
But I think what's really important, and I'm going to leave it here. If you all watched one of Dave Chappelle's 3-part specials, he talked about how interesting it was when he said the N-word. He could say nigga, nigga, nigga all day on Comedy Central. But when he wanted to say the word faggot, and I'm just using it in the context that he said, the network said, no. You can't do that. It is deteriorating to a community and blah, blah, blah. That's how I feel about Kanye's tweet. Whether it was anti-Semitic or not is not what I'm concerned about. But it's the power that alone got him removed from the most powerful social media platforms in the world, which furthermore underscores the truth in what he's saying, because we see every day that you can talk about. Are they going to remove the person we were just talking about in the last segment? Are they removing her from Twitter or Instagram for making a comment that was derogatory towards a community?
No.
And I'll leave that for everybody else's interpretation.
Hey, Sinead, brother. That's the food for thought we gotta take in, bro. That's the food for thought. That's the pill we gotta swallow. That's the pill we got to swallow, brother. And that is why I think we're seeing that level of pushback. But let me just put it in. Y'all remember Mel Gibson when he went on his rant years ago about Jewish people in power in Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
They blackballed him. They did respond. Y'all remember that? But he was for a long time. I remember a couple of maybe like a year or two afterward, he was always kind of characterized as this mad Max type of Mel Gibson. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's so much in there. But I agree with you 100%. I think the way he goes about his messaging is so much. It's so like all together. And as much as we like, and you get like so many different versions of Kanye. You get the Kanye that's, you can sit down, he's having this quote unquote intellectual discussion. Then you can get the Ye that runs up on the stage and be like, let me tell y'all something. Or then you can get the Ye when he in hip hop spaces, right? He could be a certain type of way. Then you see the Ye when it comes to his relationships to like Jay-Z and some other folks that he really admires and looks up to. Jay, why you don't ever call me, Jay? You can get that. Like, there's so many different elements of this guy. And I think that's the part about it. And then we were introduced to the Ye of Jesus Walks, the Ye where he said George Bush doesn't like black people. That Ye. I mean, you get so many different elements. And so you got to look at how, that's why I said, you got to kind of just sit back and just see how things play out a little bit. Got to let this thing cool down a little bit so we can all have a much more, I would say, level head on how to deal with all of the stuff that he brings to the table. Mm-hmm. We got to think it through. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that he shouldn't be quote unquote invited to the cookout? I mean, look, man, it's hard. It's hard. I can't ride with you, though, if you're putting out certain messages that's destructive to the people. Again, I'm going back not to because you're black. I'm going back whether this is right or wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, he's an artist. That's the other part, too, Sinead. Mm-hmm. So he can take, quote unquote, that creative license, right? He always pushes it to the boundary. But listen to what he said. He said, I thought it was funny. I think, for me, I was stating the obvious. Now, I don't know if that's his original intent, or if we don't know if that's the response he gave us as a result of the backlash. I don't know.
He's a difficult one.
He's a difficult guy. I'm saying. And look, the other thing, if you listen to the interview, folks, he actually supports Donald Trump. He actually supports Donald Trump. He actually believes in Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. He will tell you. But he believes in Donald Trump.
Do you know why, though? And here's, I don't support that he supports Donald Trump, but I understand why he does. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Go ahead.
You want him to support Mrs. Martinez in the LA City Council? That's my thing. At the very least, I cannot stand Donald Trump. There's one thing I respect him more than most politicians. I never have to guess how he feels. And I think, again, I don't think Donald Trump is smart. I don't think he's intelligent. But I think more than most politicians, he's honest, even though he lies. They all lie. Let's start there. So that's a across the board thing. I think what Kanye enjoys is people who kind of buck the authority, people who are different from most. Kanye is one of one when it comes to the
That's true. That's a good point.
Not only about what he does, but how he chooses to do it. Because remember, Kanye is just as rich, if not richer, than Jay-Z. Jay-Z can move the way Kanye moves, but Jay-Z is still a little bit, he wants to do the diplomatic route, MLK, and Kanye is more of like Malcolm in his ways or whatever, just using as general examples. But I think Kanye likes people who are powerful in what they are doing. But I think what Kanye needs to learn is soft power. Soft power is very, very strong. Because at the end of the day, every time you wanted to do something, the same people you say that you can't stand, that's who you cried to. You remember you were crying, Mark Zuckerberg, give me a chance, give me a chance, give me a couple of mil, give me a store, give me a... You're crying to these same people that you're saying are the devils. Like, if you really believe what you believe in, okay, stand by it. Distribute your own shit, make your own store, do what you want, do it your way, but don't then go out of this. Are you going to the Fashion Week in Lagos, Nigeria? Are you going to South Africa? Because if you want to talk about people who really stand by their stuff, go to a lot of the Black Africans who are in the continent who are making multi-million, multi-billion dollar businesses in fashion and everything without the help of anybody white. But the thing is, you're not even there. You still want you still want the ice that you believe is colder from their table and from their cup. But then you get upset when they give you the cold shoulder because you can't play with them.
Facts.
No matter what, if you listen to Jay-Z, no matter, you're still nigga, no matter how you twist it. It don't matter how successful you get. So you might as well just focus on yours and stay with yours. You have the talent. You have the following. You actually have the distribution. My better question is, why did you go to anybody else in the first place? Because you want their acceptance. That's it.
They want that validation, bro. He definitely wants that validation. We can't deny that. We cannot deny that. He wants that acceptance and validation. Look, Sinead, I know you got to hop off, but I truly, truly appreciate you, brother. And I don't want to, just use you up and take over your time. So I thank you. I thank you. Look, I thank you, man. And you're one of the brilliant shining stars here on the show. And so what you say and how you say it and how the insight that you provide, all of that is important. So I thank you, brother. I truly love and respect you. And God willing, we'll reconnect with each other soon. But thank you for coming on to the show.
Appreciate you. And if I could just get this one little quick tagline.
Yeah.
Kanye West is not the spokesperson or the scapegoat for mental health. You'll see them try to make that delineation. I'm sure he does have mental health.
That's a good point.
But for everybody else who is suffering from mental health issues, whether it's greater or less than, please seek some professional help and guidance.
Seek it.
Nothing to be ashamed about. Appreciate you, brother Faraji. Love you too.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, brother.
All right,
folks. I want to take a couple of the comments that you guys have been posting. In a few moments, we'll bring our next guest, but I want to take this time to just acknowledge all of those who have been posting. So many of you are brand new watchers of the show. I see so many of new names that's coming up in the chat. So welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm so happy that you're able to join us. You may be wondering like what this platform is all about. What is this conversation about? Some of you even asked, what was that clip we just played of Kanye West? Well, that was the interview that he did with Tucker Carlson of Fox News, folks, over the weekend. It aired, and it was a way for Kanye to explain everything about White Lives Matter, and then to give his opinion on a number of other issues and bringing up a whole lot of other stuff. So we're seeing so many different things. Take a look. I mean, you're seeing this man now. I don't know what crazy looks like. I can go with the caricature, but this is. Look, I'm not going to claim like I know what's going on in that man's head, because I don't, folks. I don't. And I think us having a conversation, and I know some of you say, well, why are we even talking about this? These are cultural conversations. I mean, look, folks, can we stop acting as if cultural stuff don't affect us? Because in all of my years of doing radio, talk, television, digital work, in all of my years, people, you could talk about politics, you could talk about the education, and you get very little engagement. Not to say you're not going to get any, but very little. But when you have cultural conversations, it seems like it just wakes people up. Cultural conversations are very important to people, you know, and for many years, even for myself, I was always like, well, why are we talking about what someone said versus this particular policy, right? But because people feel like, and this is just my opinion, folks, but people feel like, I think that the cultural stuff is a little bit close to home more so than the political stuff, the leadership stuff, all of that other stuff. The cultural stuff, this is the stuff that we shape our thinking from. So it's not as if these aren't important conversations. You can have the hard-nosed news conversation, but it's the cultural stuff, especially for Black people in this country. We love to talk about our culture. And more importantly, I think we love to figure out what is our culture. Because when you ask the question, well, what is Black culture? What are the do's and the don'ts of our culture? What is all of that, right? When we ask that very simple question, you're going to get 1,000 different answers. So we got to have a cultural conversation because we got to check the pulse of where are we on this? Kanye West is one of those figures in our culture, in our community, in our entertainment space, where we really need to figure out, like, where do we stand on these things? And we're not going to all be in agreement. I'm not under that I'm not that naive. We're not going to all be in agreement. What's going to happen essentially is that we're going to be in disagreement. But guess what? The cultural stuff can serve as a wedge between between us and between each other, excuse me. The cultural stuff. It's the cultural stuff. We could talk education, we could talk politics and all of that. But once you get down to the cultural things, those cultural conversations, those are the conversations where you stop talking to people. Those are the conversations where you start hating people. Those are the conversations where you're looking at each other with the crooked eye. Like, you really think that? It's the cultural conversation. So that's why we should take time. We're talking about a person who has a lot of influence, right? A person who has access, a person who has a platform. So we got to have these conversations. And this person is Kanye is bringing up a number of different things. One of the big elements out of this his interview with Tucker Carlson was, of course, the situation where he talked about Lizzo, talking about how there is an agenda to promote obesity and using Lizzo as the poster child. And I'm just paraphrasing. But how that is not healthy. He said that being obese is not clinically healthy, because in this conversation about body positivity, in this conversation about body shaming, should we embrace, being overweight? I'm just talking about from Kanye's perspective. We got to have a conversation about that. We got to have the conversation. Because why? He said it, and I agree with it. Obesity is a huge problem in the Black community. Huge problem. Poor eating habits, poor exercise routines. I mean, we can go down the list. High blood pressure, diabetes, all of these things. Huge problems. Lack of access to healthy foods, food deserts that continue to exist in the Black community. We got to talk about that stuff. See what I'm saying? The cultural leads us into understanding the politics of certain things. So we got to talk about this stuff. But I want to respect all of you for my online culture crew. Y'all know I love and respect you. Even if you don't agree with me, I want to give you a space and a place to share your thoughts. So let's go to your comments right now. Folks got a number of comments. Let's go to Jay West. You said, I think he misinterpreted his dad's understanding of what he was telling Kanye. Yeah, I don't think, hey, Jay, can you imagine having a conversation with your son and you making a little inside joke, and then your son winds up putting that joke on something major, and you like, I didn't think you were gonna say that, son. Okay. I think his dad had to figure that out. But you know, to his dad, I'm sure his dad probably should have known, like, nothing is confidential with Kanye West. I mean, he gonna share tweets, he gonna share text messages, he gonna share a lot of stuff. It's nothing sacred with this guy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think he misinterpreted. I think he knew what he was trying to say. But again, you could have said that message in a much different way, not showing that it comes across as you promoting versus stating the obvious. And do we really need a message to state the obvious at this point? You don't like my music. You say, yeah, no one ever doubted that white lives matter, Tucker. Right. Exactly. Tiffany, you checked in and said, dang, if I close my eyes, this dude sounds straight white right now. I don't know. Look, cultural conversation. His voice tone, you mean? The use of the way the linguistics is his use of the language. Okay. But even in that, we got to get out of saying you talk white. Because what does a black person talk like? A black person that's educated, articulate, what do they sound like? Cultural conversation, right? But it helps us to start to look at ourselves. But I hear you, Tiffany. I hear what you're saying. But it's at the same time, we're at this place now in 2022. We shouldn't think, we should have a different conversation about what does black culture look like? What does black speech sound like? I think that's important. But I'm glad you brought that up. LJ007, you say it's about the principle for me and for this man not to even acknowledge the fact that he has biracial children who shares, and his expression goes to show his antics are based in foolishness. Yeah, I think that's important. You know what I mean? He understands that. I mean, his children are going to be seen as black in some spaces. His children are going to be seen the children of Kanye West. I think that's the point you're speaking to, LJ, is when we do something that sometimes we can't just think about ourselves. We got to think about the ones who want to be impacted the most, which is our children. So I think that's a huge, huge part of it. Great point. My man, Brother King Lee, you say the brother is struggling emotionally. I'm not throwing the brother away. I disagree with him on many issues. I am not in denial, right? I think that's the best way we can kind of take a look at it. That's the best way we kind of take a look at it, right? Because here's the other thing. I've been in spaces, and I think this is the other part about the cultural piece, folks. Who is quote unquote truly black? Right? Like, what do we mean when we say that? And again, we don't have time to go into this part, but I just throwing out a question for us to all to reflect on. When we say, oh, you're not invited to the cookout, quote unquote, right? We're going to revoke your black card. What do we mean when we say somebody is black? And I'm talking about beyond skin color. You were talking about a certain level of consciousness, right? Is that what we're saying, right? So, you know, everybody has their own definition of what being black, quote unquote, is. And we might just have to have a discussion around that. Like, what does it mean to be black? Because some folks may say, and I've been in space, I've been told, hey, man, you ain't black. When I can go down, I can tell you my family, my history, my personal experience, but you ain't black. Well, what do you mean? Because I went to a PWI for college? Because I got exposed to the arts and then very early in my years, so I went to a special art school in Baltimore because I can articulate, because I know how to express myself. Like, what does that mean? And why do we always have to feel like we got to prove ourselves, our quote unquote blackness, to each other? A lot of cultural conversation. King Lee, man, you my guy, so you brought this out of me, man. That's your fault. Michelle, you checked in. Michelle White, Lafitte, you said, like I said earlier, yes, mother would be appalled if she were alive today to hear the words coming out of her son's mouth. How disheartening. Ye ain't going about it or saying it correctly. Facts. Facts. If y'all go back to the documentary, though, I'm going to say, and I said it before, his mother cultivated him to speak and to think like this. His mother, very powerful woman in his life. We see that, we know that. But she never, like, she cultivated him to not believe that he couldn't do anything. She cultivated him to believe that, you know what? You want to say that you are God? Guess what, son? You are a God. But there's got to be some balance on that. There's got to be some boundaries to that thinking, right? Michelle Ray, you checked in and said, Kanye is tied to capitalism and earns for white validation at the expense of black people who have been supporting him. And that is part of it, I think, Michelle. I think that's the challenging part of that. That's the other dynamic that we got to deal with. You're in those spaces where hardly any black faces exist, and you're fighting to be in that space. You're fighting to stay in that space, right? Not to say that you're not going to put anybody else on, but this has been your struggle. You love capitalism. We all know it. You say it in your music. You love being able to buy what you want to buy and all of those things. So he has to reconcile that within himself. Good point. Janae, you say, can we call his bluff? He had the audacity to call out Kim the way she was dressing last before they got married, which is why he married her. Get out of here. My uncle told me one time, the things that a woman will love you for can sometimes be the same thing she hates you for. Y'all think on that one. He told me that. So she might love the charismatic, your charisma. She might love the fact that, that you attracting all these people. She might love the fact that you got this voice and this platform. But then behind the scenes, she hate the fact that you always on the go. She hate the fact that every time you go out somewhere, somebody's in your face asking you questions. She hate the fact that you're attracting all these different type of people. The things that she loves you for might be the same thing she hates you for. Nisa, 1971. Nisa, good to hear from you. And Janae, thank you. You said, Nisa, when I think of the grounding that his parents, who were both scholars, gave him, I want to call BS on Ye. The stench of self-hatred is rolling off of him in waves. Wow. Million ideas. You checked in. I love the way you put that million ideas. I love how you spelled your name. You say Kanye is no different from Creflo Dollar. Ouch. Can we stop pretending we don't know he's a con man? Wow. Well, at least Kanye actually got the money. Zuri, you checked in and said Kanye is grown and can think and act however he wishes. We don't have to like it, but he is a whole man who has a right to self-expression. We should all exercise that right. Yes, we should all exercise that right. But there is a thing called, freedom of speech is certainly, but there is a space in that whole freedom where your speech can be deemed hurtful. It can be deemed as offensive, right? So even in our expression, which is a natural part of us as human beings, it is a beautiful thing that a government recognizes that a person can speak their mind. We don't, and then here's the crazy part, as much as we talk about America, right? And we see, you can talk bad about the government of America and you don't necessarily have people running up on your doors all the time. Now, I'm just saying this as a general statement. Of course, we know we got political prisoners. Of course, we know we got folks that have criticized this country. And as a result of that, they have undergone some extreme, trials and tribulations. But my point is that unlike in other countries, it's not the same. You can't go into some of these other spaces. We talk about Russia and Brittany Griner. You can't go into Russia and just talk bad about Putin and talk about, what you don't like in the policies and expect not to be pulled up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a certain freedom here that we do have in speaking our minds, but that freedom still has to be controlled because there are so many different types of people in this country that you got to be respectful and not offensive in using your speech. So I think that's the other part that people say, I got the right to speak. You do have the right to speak, but your speech can't be offensive either, because if it becomes offensive, then it becomes hate speech. And then now you're going to have to be dealt with in a different manner. All right, great point, Zuri. And Dirty Reds, you said, look, the question is, can you separate the music from the man just like R. Kelly or Bill Cosby? No. No. No, you can't. The music starts here. Right? The music starts there. You can't separate those two. Well, that's not what he means when he said this in his music. How do you know? We're listening to the man when he speaks. When you go back to his music, it's a reflection of what's in his heart, what's on his mind, right? No person creates music that's not a reflection of how they think or what they're feeling. How does that happen? How do you create music that you're not feeling? No, you're creating it. It's in tune. It's in alignment. Now we may be in a state of denial. That's what I believe. But it comes from somewhere. And you can't, if the music came on into the sound, started here and it started here. Man, oh man, truth is power. You said, Janae, someone who's lost their direction and their vision will always lash out before a broken arm can get better. You have to touch it to see where it's broke at something's broken. Facts, facts, facts. Dejima, you checked in and said a 40-plus-year-old is having trouble in understanding the nuances of conversations with his father. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. He can have that problem, but he should also be he can't be living in a bubble either. He has to be held accountable for what he says because it's hurtful. It's destructive. So he can have that issue with his dad. He should have resolved it before he wore that shirt. And Gia Eclectic, you said you ain't black because you chose to use all negative descriptions to decide what blackness was. Gross. Facts. Blackness is not the worst thing. Blackness is not the expression of using, it's not the demonstration of using the worst language. Or something is black because it's the worst quality. That's not blackness. That's not blackness. That's years of conditioning, right? Our blackness should show the opposite of that the blackness should be the excellence of anything, of who we are, where we come from, how we express ourselves. These are the forms of blackness. There is the negative elements, but we should all make an effort to push back on the negative elements of our culture. Because some of us are afraid of, well, we're not being black if we show green grass and a backyard and homes that are well kept in the neighborhood. It's like a white neighborhood. Why do we have to live in the worst? Why do we have to experience the worst? Why does our expression have to be the worst in order to be deemed black? It doesn't have to be. We choose. And we have the choice. The beautiful thing about culture, since we are the culture, the beautiful thing is it's one of the few things that we can have control over, one of the few things that we can change. That's why it's so important for us to have discussions around it, because in a world where there's so much that we can't change, the things that we can change the most and the things that are the most influential is our culture. We can't change history. We're still working on the institutional level of racism, sexism, and materialism, but we can certainly change our culture once we understand and recognize that we have that power. All right, folks, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about the NFL's new concussion protocol and how it will affect football going forward. We check in with sports vlogger and analyst Scotty to get the latest details around the new policy. Stay with us. That's happening on The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I haven't said it, and I will give you more details, but if you are enjoying the show, you're enjoying the level of engagement, the conversation, enjoying the fact that we bring you into this conversation as well, make sure y'all do y'all due diligence and support us here at Black Star Network. Go to our website at blackstarnetwork.com. And, I don't want to have this conversation in this space with so many of you. And I'm watching the numbers and folks that are checking in on as we stream on YouTube and Facebook. And folks, I welcome all of the new watchers, new viewers, new insights, new perspectives. That's the point of this. That's the point of this. So but definitely continue to show your support for us. All right, very quickly, as we round out as we get to the end of today's show, I wanted to talk about the NFL and their concussion policy, because this has been a big conversation. Of course, off season, this has been a conversation, but this has been brought to the forefront because of what we saw with the Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua, who was injured in a game just a couple of weeks ago it was a scary incident where he was knocked down, his head hitting the ground, forcing him to go into concussion. So there was another review of the concussion policies, because as he was getting back up, he was stumbling, and there is talk that, as a result of him stumbling and possibly being back out there on the field, that it posed greater risk. Now, the situation with Tua is that he had already suffered from some injuries, from his back injuries and other injuries in the previous game, and he was really not prepared to go and play a couple of Sundays ago. And so as a result of that, the doctor that looked at him, the doctor that gave him the green light to go and play, he was fired by the NFL and the NFLPA, the Players Association, because they greenlit on a player that had not fully recovered. And as a result of that, that second concussion hit further jeopardizes him from playing the game. So we wanted to have a discussion about this, and I'm so happy that we have my guy Scotty, who is a sports vlogger. We got Scotty in. Can we bring him in? There we go. Boom, my man Scotty. How you feeling, brother?
What's good, Roger? I'm doing pretty well, man. Your last segment kind of hurt me. I ain't gonna lie, because I'm a Kanye fan. I'm a big Kanye fan. So
I know, bro. Hey, look, I'm a Kanye fan too, bro. I do, but that's why I say, like, I need to take a minute to kind of process all of this.
Yeah.
If we jump to conclusions, then we may not be right. So it's more like it's like talk therapy. You know what I'm saying, Scotty? We just kind of talking it out, trying to figure it out. Like, bro, like, I don't know what to do with Joe.
You about to be on that R. Kelly ban list? Keep playing. We'll be on that R. Kelly.
See, I'm clear about R. Kelly. I'm clear about that. But Kanye, it's like,
yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
But look, I'm so happy that you're joining us again, brother, because I wanted to get your take on this NFL concussion policy. Here, take a look at this, folks, as we talk to Scotty about this situation. This is what was reported about the concussion that the ESPN had put it out there, that the part of the policy says, rather than being simply a check-the-box process, the new protocol was designed to ensure that highly credentialed and experienced physicians approved and paid for by the NFL and NFLPA are available on game day, and to create a standardized approach to concussion evaluation where competitive decisions never usurp quality care. This is from a joint statement between from the NFL and NFLPA. Also, the statement says, if a concern arises over compliance with the protocol, either the NFLPA or the NFL can request an investigation into the actions of the medical staff, which will be conducted jointly. Now, both parties agreed to amend the protocol by adding ataxia, to the list of no-go symptoms. Ataxia is defined as abnormality of balance, stability, motor coordination, or dysfunctional speech caused by a neurological issue, according to the statement. In other words, if a player is diagnosed with ataxia by any club or neutral physician involved in the application of the concussion protocol, he will be prohibited from returning to the game and will receive the follow-up care required by the protocol. So this comes out after we saw how the Miami Dolphins handled the Tua situation. And that they say agree the outcome in this case is not what was intended. Break this down for us, Scotty. When we look at this, Tua, I watched that game, bro. I'm a football fan. Concussions has been at the forefront. I would say within the past 5 years, we've seen a greater conversation about concussion, CTE, especially when you look at cases like Aaron Hernandez, even Antonio Brown and others, living players who are no longer in the league, but who suffer in some way, shape, or form. What does this policy do? Does this protect, or does this hurt? I mean, where do you stand on this policy?
It's tough, man, because you don't know. At the end of the day, it's all about whose interest are you really trying to protect? Are you trying to protect the NFL's interest, or are you trying to protect the players' interest? Because it's twofold. You could be trying to protect the NFL's image or the shield, because you don't want that to be a stain on the shield and be like, they're putting out players who aren't capable of playing and they're not fully coherent or in the right mind to play the game? Or are you trying to protect the players from themselves? Because as we know, I don't know if you play football, but it's a man's game. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
oh yeah, I played it. I love it.
You know, you're taught to fight through that. Are you hurt or are you injured? You know what I'm saying? It's those type of questions. So, you know, it's a balancing act that the NFL and the NFLPA have to do. Is like, okay, whose interest are we protecting? But if you were watching that game, the game before the second concussion, you knew that was not a back injury. Like, I mean, come on, man. I'm not a doctor, but a back injury. I've had a back injury. You can't even stand up. If your back is really messed up or shot, you can't stand up. He was stumbling just to walk. You know what I'm saying? And his offensive lineman had to help him just to get to the sideline. So I just think the NFL has to start taking itself out of these processes, right? Like, you can't have a team doctor look into a player because they don't have the same interest. They might have let me ask you this, Faraji. Yeah. How much would you believe if the Dolphins had to win next week for a playoff berth? How much would you believe a team doctor is telling you, I don't know if Tua's good to go? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's good to go. A team doctor telling you that Tua's good to go because it's a playoff, like, you know, it's a do or die game. That's the part I think is the conflict of interest as well, because if you get a third party or independent party outside of the NFL to oversee some of these issues, then you don't have the biasness of the team having to play judge and jury like the commissioner does for a lot of the issues in the league as well.
Sound right. There we go. Yeah, brother, I would agree with you wholeheartedly that we're at a place where you got to ask yourself what's in the best interest, right? And you're to that point. It made me rethink of the show, the movie Any Given Sunday. Remember, with Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx.
That's good.
And that came out years ago, folks. One of my favorite sports movies of all time. But you got to see the behind the scenes decisions, right? Like, when you got money on the line, when you got championships on the line, when you got players, even some of the players themselves, you know, if the doctor says, look, man, you're not fit to play. And then, you know, you got a player to say, look, man, look, this is the beginning of the season, doc. Just give me something. Let me go back out there. I got to get my stats, or, you know what I mean? Like, I got to get this bonus, or I got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of these decisions that are being made behind the scenes. And it just goes to show you, like, just the simple fact that of where we are in terms of sports entertainment, that we're putting, like, literally, these guys are putting their whole minds and bodies on the line for entertainment. Now, yes, people say, oh, they get millions of dollars. That's what you. Let me tell you something. If you can't walk, if you have troubles doing the simple things of getting up out of bed, being able to lift your arm, remembering where your keys are. I mean, just a simple thing. Who the hell wants to spend, and, you know, you only got about 5 or 10, maybe 5 or 6 years in NFL. You know, most players don't get 15, 20 years.
That's fair.
So who wants to spend their time, 30, 40-year-olds, and you disabled to that capacity? Nobody. So I you know, the NFL needs to do more. It needs to do more. The money ain't the problem. It's the safety. It's the fact that some of these guys, even after the tour hit, Scotty, guys are still knocking dudes in the head. And I'm serious. If I was a football player, I'd be like, yo, what the, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just out here just trying to play the game. I get it. We want to win. But damn, man, I remember, what was the player that got knocked in the legs, bro? I think it was in the first, this was like preseason game. He got hit in the legs. He almost lost. I mean, oh my gosh, I forgot what team he played for. But it was like, what are y'all thinking, bro? You're trying to kill me out here? Like, I'm just trying to play the game just like you. So I don't know. I don't know if the NFL is doing all that it really can to protect these players. To your point, bro.
You know, the NFL is like a guy who keeps cheating on a girl. Like, it's just like, you've shown me who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only so many times I'm gonna keep falling for this same act, because they can't get it right when they're doing basic law or punishment enforcement, right? It took the NFL players and former players to sue just to get concussion money from found sources and found reports of CTE for them to have medical insurance and things like that. And then now it's taking people to go. It's taking somebody like Tua to have an extreme issue in case it happened on a major game for you to have to add an extra layer of protection to say, if it looks like this or if you do this, you can't come back into the game. It is the NFL is just showing you time and time again that it just can't get it right on its own. So it has some of this power has to be taken away from the shield, from the owners, from the commissioner, and given to a third independent party. They got the money to pay for it. They make billions. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you know when somebody says, you know what, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Let's turn this over to somebody else. They can do it at a better rate than what we can do.
Right. There was a piece that was written back in 2016 when they were talking about this. I'm looking at the Washington Post, and it says the NFL's new concussion protocol can protect players if teams won't follow it. Now, this was in 2016. And I want to get your take on this, Scotty, because if it really comes down to the team saying, we're going to make this a priority, right? These teams, and I remember looking up what these teams are bringing in or their worth, their value. Bruh. I'm telling you, boy, in America, sports entertainment is not just dollars and cents. This is a billion-dollar business, folks. I'm telling you, the most successful teams are the teams that now, one of the top team is the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
Valued over $3 billion.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, whether they win or not, whether they go to the playoffs or not, is not the point.
Relax.
The point is
disrespect is.
And they're winning this season. They're winning. Y'all winning.
Disrespect. You're floating on disrespect.
I mean, look, I'm Ravens, bro. So you know what I mean.
Floating.
Hey man, come on, brother. Hey, no, but look, but the thing is, the valuation of these teams, it just goes to show you that when you look at the numbers, when you look at how these players bring added revenue, it leads you to ask, it forces you to ask the question, is this really about health and well-being? Or is this just another moneymaker? Now, again, the team's got to follow through. It's one thing to have the rules. It's another thing to have the rules and to actually have them follow through by the people that you impose the rules on.
Let me throw it back to you, Faraj. I throw it to you like this, right?
Yeah.
If you're a multi-billion-dollar industry where talent is not the problem, I can find another Tua. And I know that sounds really bad, but if you guys really think about it, 1%. It's 1% of the population. I think it's not even 1%. It's like 0.003 or 5 go to the NFL. But imagine all the little black boys and white boys that want to play. There's no lack of talent to find. So it's literally like a chicken farm or a cow factory. It's like you get them in, you use them for what you want to use them for, and I'll find somebody to replace you. It's just that simple. So why would I have an over concern of a product? And I hate to call our people a product, but that's what it is. Why would I have over concern for a product where I know I can replace it in a blink of an eye? I know I have a kid that is fighting to get in your spot. So if you don't want to play, that's fine. I'll cut you and I'll bring the kid off the practice squad. Or I'll find a kid in the USFL. I'll find a kid out of college that's bagging groceries who can run a 4.3. Like, let's not act like you can't go to Florida and throw a rock and hit a kid with dreads who can run a 4.3. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I know it's a messed up way to look at it, but you got to understand, if I'm making $1 billion, you're not going to stop what I'm doing. You, individual, is not about to stop what I'm doing. One person.
And you know what? I'm not mad that you even said that, bro, because I know deep down inside that's true.
That's how the white.
That's true. You know what I'm saying? Like these owners aren't thinking about that. And I'm saying owners across any sports organization in any league, right? Like these owners are looking at the dollars and cents of the whole matter, right? And so they're like, okay, you're replaceable. You're replaceable. We'll find another one. It might take us a year, it might take us 2 years, but we'll find another one. You know what I mean? We know that some teams don't emphasize for them to be excellent every year because they know they can get the first dibs on the next new hot thing, right? So I mean, all of that plays into it, and it's sad because at the end of the day, when these guys come off the field, and this is why I think when we look at people like Antonio Brown and others who have to feel like they always got to be out there, they always got to be talked about, they always got to be mentioned.
Yeah, it's
really a sign that this is all they have, bro. This is all they got.
I mean, they say that, I know I hear Shannon Sharp say it all the time. He said the hardest thing for some NFL players is retirement. It's because you worked your whole life to get to that point, and now you're like, what do I do? You know what I'm saying? What do I do now? You know what I'm saying? So that's how you have players trying to reinvent themselves, or they go bankrupt, or they is all those different things that happen. But you know what I'm saying? It's a tough thing, man. It's a tough thing that you work your way your whole life. Your dream of having this NFL moment, you play 5, 6, 7 years, and it's over.
Right. That's it. That is it. All right, let's go to some of the comments from our online culture crew. Folks just checking in as we talk to my guy Scotty, who's a sports vlogger, sports analyst, and having this conversation about the NFL protocol, concussion protocol that's been updated as a result of a number of new cases of concussion around the league this season. Charlene, you said, hey, fam, sports injury and falls generally can lead to more greater and serious life-altering, if not life-threatening injury. Facts. I think, Scotty, you made that point about Tua's back. You know what I'm saying? Like, after you get bent up a couple of times, you really do some real damage. It's hard to come back from that, even though you might think you can. I don't care how much training you got, how much training you do, or who you got around you to get you physically in shape. That back ain't never going back to its original position, that original place.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a great point. Charlene, thank you so much. Chris, you said it's that second concussion and those thereafter that are the ones that can be a danger to a player's physical and mental well-being in both short and long term. Facts. I think Tua should just stop, bro. I'm going to be honest with you.
Man,
I think he should just stop. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard because he's a young man. He really hasn't hit his peak. But bro, you can't take no hits like this.
Yeah, and I think he's in that Luke Kuechly, and the boy from the Colts, who Andrew Luck. I think he's in that boat. Like, you can't keep taking that type of hits. And I mean, if I'm being honest with you, Roger, I've never seen nobody lock up like that.
Bro.
I ain't never seen nothing.
Never seen the hands. That's what got me. Oh my God.
I was like, I was like,
and look, they replayed the game over the weekend, right? I think at NFL Network. And I mean, when you really look at how his hands was positioned, I mean, it was positioned in such a way, like you physically can't even do your hands like that. Man. If with you knew that there was some neurological communications issues because your hands locked up on the way it did. I mean, it was.
Listen, I tell you,
he needs to stop, bro. Like he really needs to stop at this point.
I'll get a nice little severance package from the NFL.
That's it. Do some of that stuff on the side. I mean, again, I know it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But you need to stop, bro, because you take one more hit. That's all it takes, bro.
That's all it takes.
You might get one more hit. You might be paralyzed. You might be brain damaged. You know what I'm saying? Like, you take one more hit. And more importantly, like, these guys, these defenders or whoever is on the defense, they can't play. I mean, look, man, why are you trying to break a man up so bad?
I'm not laughing. It's just how you said it.
I'm serious, bro. Like, Scott, I love football. I love it. Not just because it's my team. I look at football, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, God, You hitting this man, taking the head off. I remember watching football years ago. Y'all remember watching this. Like, we've gotten much further along in football than years prior, where they used to just sling on your neck, grab the helmet, right? You know how the face mask violation?
All that.
Just grabbing you. Here you running full speed and the man swing, grabbing your face.
Back. Yeah, that thing, it's gruesome, bro. It's gruesome. Yeah.
It's like, guys, we not even, and I don't know, and you tell me, bro, are players being educated for real? These young guys coming into the league, are they really being educated to understand the body? They really understanding, like, even though it might be considered to be a clean hit can do some lasting damage to the body.
Listen, I love Shannon Sharp, and I love like how his.
I love him too, bro.
I love his views on a lot of stuff, and he just says it's only so much the body can take of grown men running full speed at each other and taking hits. It's just physics. You know what I'm saying? It's only so much your body can take. And you're asking people to rebound, and then they're adding more games into the season. They just made it 8. You know what I'm saying? So you have shorter rest periods. It's listen, once again, it goes back to a chicken farm. Like, I can replace you if you get hurt. Yes, you might be my franchise guy. Yes, I might be paying you $30 or $40 million. But if you can't go next year, there is somebody in the wings. They might not be good, but it's somebody. So it's a business that keeps churning that product, and it's like, it's like you can either get on this train or you can get left off of it. But you gotta have the mentality to say, you know what, my life is more important than $1.
Hey, that's it, brother. And I'm glad to see there are a number of players that are saying, I'm retiring at young ages.
Yeah,
2-3 years in a season, in a year, in their career. I'm done. I'm done. Mental health, physical health, like, I'm done. You know what I mean? And I think that's a sign that we're seeing. And maybe if the NFL or the NFLPA can't find some measure of accountability, then we as the consumers need to speak up and say, you know what? This is not good. This is not right. Because it's our dollars. It's our going to the games. It's us watching the games that's keeping this whole situation afloat. And culturally, we are providing the labor for this market. We're teaching Black boys in particular
for the NFL
to get them primed up to go to the NFL. We're teaching them that. And that's a cultural part of that. So some people might say, well, that's how you can change your way in your lot in life. But it doesn't have to be. Especially, would you send your son? And let me tell you, bro, my son is 9 years old. People always ask me, is he going to play football? My son loves soccer. I don't think I'm going to let him play football. I've had football coaches tell me, don't let him play till he's like 12, 13 years old.
His body gets a
little bit stronger, right? And then they even said, Faraji, that's if you let him play, but he don't have to play. Like, I'm not going to force him to go into a space like that, because on that level, and you probably seen it as well, them young boys have less rules and regulations.
Boy,
and that's a hell of a thing to see a teenager suffer from a concussion. That's a hell of a thing, man.
Yeah, especially when they don't have the voice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
They don't have the voice that a grown man has to tell a coach, hey, coach, I'm not right. Like, something's not right with me. You know what I'm saying? Because as a coach, all he cares about is winning the game. I'm not saying every coach is like that. So if you got people in here coaching, I'm not saying that you guys don't be taking care of it. But there are bad apples, just like there's good apples. So let's not play this game. So they don't have the voice. For me, though, Faraji, I'm going to tell you straight up, man. Try to get my son in some baseball, baby. Like, hey, listen. Long money. That is some long money. What would you talk about? See, Black people, we got it backwards. We got it backwards. We need to start funding the Dominicans got it. The Hispanic Dominicans, they got it. We need to start pushing our tables onto the baseball. I'm trying to get my son to throw a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. You know what I'm saying? Get a $200 million contract. Take care.
I see that. I'm feeling the same way. Like, boy, if you want to, and he likes baseball too. I was like, say, if you like soccer and baseball, that's different. That's a different type of flow. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Them baseball players, those players get paid that long money. You're like, whoa.
But I always had this discussion with a lot of my friends. I'm like, what's so wrong with putting our black kids in tennis? What's so wrong? What's so wrong with putting our kids in golf? I love golf. Like, I picked it up late as I got older. What's wrong with putting our kids in swimming? What's wrong with putting our kids in, I mean, of course we do a track and field, we're killing that. But I'm just saying, like, those sports that are actually a lot easier to go pro in. It's a lot easier to go pro in soccer. You can go overseas. You can play, same thing in baseball. You can play it overseas. You can go to Japan. You can go to, Mexico. There's a lot of places to play it. But we always want to pick the most difficult sports to go pro in.
Right.
When there's a lot to go pro, and you can go pro in tennis, you can go pro in golf and things like that. Yes, it's a lot more expensive. We do understand that, teaching and coaching and things like that. But I just think that as a culture, we kind of need to start funneling kids in other directions and giving them those different outlets.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Scotty, man, this is always a pleasure to have you on. Tell everybody how they can tune into your show and everywhere they can keep up with you at.
Hey, listen, you can follow me on Off Script. You see the show right here on YouTube. You catch me on Twitter and Instagram as well as Off Script. Listen, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, okay? So, I'm just telling you that right now. Don't come on my channel talk about some. I saw you on Faraji. I thought you was going to be introspective. I ain't Faraji, okay? I'm going to hit it. Listen, I'm just telling you right now. I got a thing. I say, if you don't like nothing I say, you can unfollow me. Okay, you can unfollow me. I don't play them games, so don't waste my time.
Hey, yo, play that one more time.
If I make you feel type of way, unfollow me. Okay. Hey, listen, I got a gremlin. Listen, I got gremlin on the back wall. That's a trash bag. That's not a towel because they playing like trash right now. So I'm telling you, I'm different. So don't come over there and try to act like, I'm Roland Martin and Faraji and all this introspective thinking. I'm just straight. Okay, I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. I'm different, man. I'm different. Honest.
Hey yo, I need to get one of those joints, bro. Hey yo, it is so funny. I've been meaning to tell my man King Keenan, like, yo, I need a joint with DJ Khaled. It breaks my heart.
I'm telling you, you got some little drops, because I tell people.
I need a drop, bro. I need a drop that just says, it breaks my heart. That's all. Keenan, we need to get a drop that says that, bro. Just take it straight from Khaled, bro. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. My God.
I just try to be upfront with people because I tell them
I'm petty.
I'm different. I'm different. Okay, so don't come on my channel talking about, oh my God, Scotty, I thought you were gonna be so enlightening. No, that's not. I am sometimes, but a lot of times I'm a fool. Okay, so
hey, man, there's a space for you in the culture.
Hey, listen, it's all
Hey, bro, that's all good. Hey, we'd love to have you, man. I'm so happy that you're able to join us here on the show. So, folks, make sure y'all check out my man Scotty on his YouTube channel. There it is. Boom.
Yeah.
There it is. Off Script. Right there.
That is.
And if you don't like them, hey, Scotty, if they don't like you, what can they do?
Make you feel some type of way.
No, I don't. It's not a game out here. It's not a game out here, Faraji. It's not a game.
Oh, man, Scotty, good to hear from you. Scotty, thank you so much for being on the show today, brother. And more importantly, thank you for being so good for the culture.
Hey, thank you for having me.
See you, bro. Appreciate it. Right, oh, man. Oh, my gosh. Wow, I needed that one. Oh, man, I needed that one so bad. Jeez. My man, Scotty. Oh, boy, that joy had me crying. Okay, anyway. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank y'all for tuning in. Big shout out to all of my new watchers. Look, make sure y'all continue to show y'all support Hey, look, if you enjoyed today's show, the conversation that we have with my man Scotty, with my guy Sinead, make sure y'all support us, man. Go to blackstarnetwork.com. Support us financially. We need your support as we continue to build this media platform. We're working our way to becoming a 24-hour streaming service with a host of programs, a number of conversations and topics. There's so much in the Black culture and Black news and information that you just can't rely on just 2-3 voices. And big shout out to all the folks that follow us on Twitter who have identified us, man. I'm very humbled to be in the same space and be spoken of in the same way as Roland Martin and others who've been doing this for a very long time. So, but there's so much to our culture. There's so much that needs to be talked about that we need to have more voices. And so that's something I pride myself on here on the culture for this platform, to bring those voices, to continue to cultivate the next generation of thought leaders. And more importantly for us to hear the brilliance of so many of our people, especially the next generation. Make sure y'all hit me up. Y'all can follow me on Twitter. I need more followers. I want to connect with y'all. Hit me up on my social media. Twitter, you can find me at Faraji, Farajii. On Instagram, you can hit me up at The Real Faraji. On Facebook, I'm Faraji Muhammad. Follow me. Check me out. I'm putting more stuff out there as I'm having more thoughts about what's going on with our culture. Again, if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but let's at least have a conversation about it. Don't just be like, oh, that's stupid. Well, why is this stupid? Why don't you agree with me? And I'll certainly do my best to follow up with you, and let's have the discussion. But we need to bring some things into the culture, whether they're negative or positive, folks. And I know we love to hold on to things, but there has to be some different conversations about elements of our culture if we're talking about making any type of change or progress to take our people to the next space. So again, you can follow me on all social media platforms. All right, big shout out to my team, my man King Keenan, Ariel, Joel. Thank you so much, my beautiful folks in the control room, for making the show so great. Thank you so much. And also, as always, thank y'all for tuning in for another fantastic edition of The Culture. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Roland Martin Unfiltered with Big Brother Uncle Roro. So tune in for that. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Talk to you tomorrow, folks. Peace.
It breaks my heart. Nah, it really fucking breaks my heart. And there's